Major funding for KPBS Evening Edition has been made possible in part by Anderson Plumbing, Heating and Air, proud to support the mission of KPBS and privileged to serve San Diego clients. Anderson Plumbing, Heating and Air, helping homeowners maintain drain, heating, and cooling systems since 1978. And by the Conrad Prebys Foundation, Darlene Marco Shiley, and by the following. And by viewers like you. Thank you.
Good evening. It's Tuesday, July 27. Thank you for joining us. I'm Maya Trabulsi. It was powerful, poignant, and yet at times political. 4 police officers delivered emotional testimony today, recounting the trauma they endured while defending the Capitol on January 6th. Isabel Rosales has more on today's House hearing and investigation.
The indifference shown to my colleagues is disgraceful.
Emotional testimony as a House Select Committee holds its first high-profile hearing on the deadly January 6 Capitol riot.
I feel like I went to hell and back to protect them and the people in this room.
4 police officers recounting the trauma they encountered while defending the Capitol that day, giving the panel their first-hand accounts of being outnumbered. Some said they were dragged into the crowd and attacked with their own gear and weapons.
I could feel myself losing oxygen and recall thinking to myself, this is how I'm going to die.
The mob of terrorists were coordinating their efforts now, shouting heave, ho, as they synchronized, pushing their weight forward, crushing me further against the metal door frame.
Push it back!
The hearing also showing never-before-seen video, showing the violent clashes between police and the sea of rioters who stormed the building in chaos.
There was an attack carried out on January 6th, and a hitman sent them. I want you to get to the bottom of that.
The bipartisan investigation facing criticism from some House Republicans over the committee's membership. Congressman Adam Kinzinger, one of the only 2 Republicans on the panel, getting emotional, saying Americans deserve answers.
You know, democracies are not defined by our bad days. We're defined by how we come back from bad days, how we take accountability for that.
In Washington, Isabel Rosales, KPBS News.
The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention is reversing course and now recommending everyone wear masks indoors, regardless of vaccination status. The recommendation is for areas experiencing high or substantial COVID-19 transmission. San Diego County is listed as having a high transmission rate with 741 cases reported just today. Governor Newsom said the state will likely update its masking guidelines.
I've been working hand in glove with the CDC, or face to mask with the CDC for some time. I'm looking forward to the details, and as soon as we avail ourselves to the details, some of the tiering strategies, which we've been in dialogue with the CDC on, we'll make some comments in very short order.
Los Angeles County moved to require masks indoors earlier this month, but San Diego County has not yet followed suit. But as KPBS reporter Eric Anderson tells us, the San Diego Regional Chamber of Commerce says tightening rules to prevent the spread of COVID-19 is good for business.
California officials are asking state workers to prove they've been vaccinated or face regular testing or masking at work. The move was approved by many of the state's business associations, who see the rules as a way to keep the economic recovery going. The chamber supports asking workers for vaccination records.
It's just being aware of other people's positions, and you don't want to make anybody else sick. You don't want to be spreading the virus. We know that this can still be very deadly with a lot of people who have not been vaccinated, and I don't think it's much to ask somebody to wear a mask.
Sanders says he wears a mask indoors and outdoors at large gatherings. He calls it a personal responsibility to help keep others safe.
You know, you can be safe by wearing masks, and you can be safe by having people who come into your businesses wearing masks. And right now, safety of all of our business owners and their patrons is of paramount importance.
The chamber is recommending that everyone get vaccinated, and they're telling their businesses that businesses and customers could also be masked because that provides an extra layer of protection. And they say that protection may be enough to help stunt this latest virus surge. Eric Anderson, KPBS News.
As some California businesses start requiring masks indoors again, others are taking it a step further. Coming up on Evening Edition, where proof of vaccination will be required to enter bars. If you want an in-person education in the California State University system, you will have to be vaccinated as well. The CSU announced it is requiring all students and staff be vaccinated against COVID-19 for the fall term. Administrators had previously said they would require vaccinations once the FDA gave full approval to at least one vaccine. Vaccines are still being administered as an emergency use, but the spread of the Delta variant is in a new factor that's being considered. There will be an allowance for medical and religious exemptions. With new mandates for state and health care workers, private businesses now have to decide whether to follow suit and require vaccines for their employees. KPBS reporter Melissa May has more on what people could expect as they return to work.
UC Hastings law professor Dorit Rice is an expert in vaccine law and policy. She says she expected to see proof of vaccination mandates.
I didn't expect that we'll see as much as we're seeing, but as always with the COVID-19 pandemic, it's because the virus keeps surprising us. We're seeing more cases and the Delta variant is proving even more contagious.
Proof of vaccination status was not required until now because the COVID-19 vaccines still have not been fully approved by the FDA. They are currently being used through an emergency use authorization, or EUA. Rice says the legal concept of a vaccine mandate hasn't been tested until now.
Because we've never had an EUA vaccine for the entire population. But now we're facing it, and there are increasing reasons to think that, yes, you can still mandate a vaccine under an EUA, but it's still an area where the law is not settled.
Rice says requiring vaccines has two effects.
One is a limit, making it harder for people who are not vaccinated to do certain things. But the other thing is enabling us to do things that we can't do otherwise.
Governor Gavin Newsom announced a new vaccine policy requiring all state, healthcare, and high-risk congregate employees to be vaccinated or be subject to weekly COVID-19 testing. Rice calls Newsom's policy a soft mandate.
An employer can say, get the vaccine or you're fired. That's a very strong mandate. A mandate that says vaccinate or will put in place requirements for you to reduce the risk, such as testing or masking, is a softer one. The consequence is not as bad.
Many businesses have stayed away from requiring proof of vaccination because of the risk of backlash.
But the risk of a backlash has to be balanced with the risk of not vaccinating and not vaccinating without a mandate. Right now, the Delta variant is raging, and not mandating creates a realistic risk of additional preventable death and harms.
Melissa May, KPBS News.
UC San Diego Health announced a data breach may have compromised the personal information of patients, students, and employees. The breach involved unauthorized access to employee email accounts between December 2020 and April 2021. That left protected information accessible, and that includes names, addresses, social security numbers, credit card information, as well as usernames and passwords. The incident was reported to the FBI. UC San Diego Health says it is working with cybersecurity experts to investigate what happened and notify all those affected. Earlier this year, the Conrad Prebys Foundation announced it was planning to sell 66 residential complexes across San Diego County to Blackstone. The price tag? $1 billion. Now, as KPBS race and equity reporter Christina Kim shows us, tenants that live in some of these properties say they fear they will be displaced.
Housing is a human right.
Local leaders and tenant right advocates gathered today in National City demanding that the Conrad Prebys Foundation stop the sale of its nearly 6,000 housing units to the private equity firm Blackstone.
Fight, fight, fight! Housing is a human right!
Standing in front of the Golden Tree Apartments, Anne Maureen McCullough has called this building home for the last 3 years. It's one of the 66 buildings the foundation is selling to Blackstone for a total of more than $1 billion. Most of the proceeds will go towards the foundation's many philanthropic efforts in San Diego, including KPBS. McCullough, who is also a member of the tenants' right organization ACE, says she's worried what will happen to her family when Blackstone takes over.
I'm afraid that we got to move on because they're not in favor of us. They're in favor of themselves and growing their money higher.
The New York City-based Blackstone has been buying up low-income and moderate-income housing complexes across the country. In a statement to KPBS, Kathleen McCarthy, the global co-head of Blackstone Real Estate, wrote, "We expect that a resident making 80% or less of AMI will continue to find the majority of units affordable. We plan to make substantial capital investments exceeding $100 million to address unaddressed resident requests." McCarthy also wrote Blackstone's renovation of the apartments will generate 500 local jobs. McKellub, who pays $1,400 a month for a roach-infested one-bedroom apartment, doubts she'll benefit from any upgrades.
So they maybe try to offer us something, because, pretty much that's what they do, to make it in a more bougie apartment. And then maybe the amount that they give us can't even fund to where we want to go. It depends.
National City Vice Mayor Jose Rodriguez says he's not confident that Blackstone will keep any promises it's making. And he's warning Blackstone that a strong tenants' rights culture is growing in the San Diego region.
The good thing of doing these public actions is to ensure that this new prospective buyer knows what they're dealing with, and they're dealing with tenants that are organized, with elected officials that want to make sure that we represent everybody and everybody's interest, so that they know this is going to be a fight once the sale goes through.
Blackstone Group expects the transaction to close later this year. Cristina Kim, KPBS News.
San Diego City Council has put off a decision on whether to extend a contract with an audio surveillance company used to detect gunshots in neighborhoods. The San Diego Police Department says the devices made by ShotSpotter enable officers to respond to shootings more quickly. But privacy advocates say the technology is only deployed in low-income communities of color and needs more oversight. No date has been set for the issue to come back before the City Council. A group of parents and advocates in Coronado are seeking to make amends with the Escondido community following the tortilla throwing incident at a basketball game back in June. KPBS reporter Alexandra Rangel has more on the journey to healing they're hoping to start.
We are deeply sorry.
Inclusionado is a group of parents and advocates. They gathered in front of the Coronado Unified School District Tuesday to simply say sorry. Despite an ongoing investigation, the group wanted to apologize for the tortilla throwing incident that hurt and offended not only the players of Escondido Orange Glen High School, but the Latino community.
We see you, we hear you, and we stand by you.
Marely Ramirez, a parent on the Inclusionado Steering Committee, says it's time to move forward.
We would like to embrace the opportunity to build a bridge of respect between Coronado and Escondido.
The championship game between Coronado High School and Orange Glen that resulted in tortillas being thrown at Orange Glen athletes has caused much controversy. It has also led to the stripping of Coronado's championship title by the CIF board.
How can it be? How can it be that there are so many educated people, captains of industry, that would allow that to happen?
Thomas Morali, a Coronado resident in support of Tuesday's apology, says healing needs to happen far beyond the school districts. He's had neighbors of color who have experienced racial discrimination, and he's willing to do his part to foster inclusion.
We want to bring inclusion in this city, and I pray that we can do that.
Alexandra Rangel, KPBS News.
The San Diego City Council today finalized a deal to move the annual Holiday Bowl to Petco Park. KPBS Metro reporter Andrew Bowen says the bowl had been searching for a new home since the Mission Valley Stadium was demolished last year.
The Padres' downtown ballpark seemed like a great fit for the Holiday Bowl, but the 1998 ballot measure that created Petco Park included a prohibition on football games. Council members voted unanimously to remove that restriction to ensure the bowl game stays in San Diego. The Padres will share the revenue from the game, and CEO Eric Grupner says the team is covering the upfront renovation costs.
Reconfiguring the ballpark will take some work that we have largely already done with the exception of finalizing permitting and construction, and we have a team that's working hard on that as I speak.
Grupner says when retrofitted for football, Petco can hold about 50,000 fans. The Holiday Bowl is scheduled for December 28th. Andrew Bowen, KPBS News.
World champion gymnast Simone Biles withdrew from the women's team gymnastics event. Her American teammates ended up taking home the silver. Biles was one of the biggest names in Tokyo this summer, says this she realized after a disappointing vault that she wasn't in the right headspace to compete. 20-year-old Jordan Childs took her place in the uneven bars while Biles took on the role of cheerleader from the sidelines.
I just felt like it would be a little bit better to take a back seat, work on my mindfulness, and I knew that the girls would do an absolutely great job, and I didn't want to risk the team a medal for kind of my screw-ups because they've worked way too hard for that. So I just decided that those girls need to go in and do the rest of the competition.
As for whether she'll compete in the individual events, Biles said she's taking it a day at a time. The superstar gymnast brought home 4 gold medals in 2016 Olympics. The Russian team took gold at this year's women's team event. A new rehabilitation hospital is now officially open in the North County. KPBS health reporter Matt Hoffman says everything inside and out was built with the idea of getting critically injured patients back into their homes.
Nice work. All right.
All right. 77-year-old Doug Bailey is in the middle of a physical therapy session.
Let's go kind of around the front of the car.
Okay. After a horrible bike accident which broke his neck and caused spinal cord damage, Bailey was transferred to the new Palomar Health Rehabilitation Institute.
I'm lucky to be alive, actually. Could have been serious enough to stop my breathing.
While Bailey's brain is working fine, he's having to relearn how to use it. 2 weeks before being admitted to the Rehab Institute, he was wheelchair bound.
They taught me how to walk again, actually, and how to use new neural pathways. Since the spinal cord is damaged, and what the brain, my brain thinks I can get up and go for a little jog right now, but it doesn't work that way.
With a few hours of physical therapy a day, Bailey says he feels himself getting stronger.
I can tell I'm improving. My function in the fingertips, I couldn't do this before at all. And so it's coming back faster than, not as fast as I'd like, but faster than anticipated.
That's good.
Okay.
Your balance is getting better.
Yeah.
Bailey is also undergoing occupational therapy here.
Putting on my clothes, bathing myself, feeding myself.
Most patients stay here for just under 2 weeks, but Bailey has a 30-day stay. And while he can walk again, the next part of his recovery will focus on refining his motor skills.
Like right now, I don't even think I could sign my name to a piece of paper, but I think that'll improve a lot.
The idea behind this facility is to prepare people for a return to normal lives, and for some that could mean learning how to use a washer and a dryer again, or even more simpler tasks like learning how to open and close a refrigerator. The rehab facility is technically a hospital and also has a full apartment inside where patients can stay overnight just before being released back into their homes.
What is your typical day like at home? Are you a golfer? Is that where we want to go with this? Are you a walker, a hiker? You know, what types of activities do you want to be able to tolerate when you go home? And that's sort of how we build that plan.
Natalie Jermuska is CEO of the Rehab Institute, which is a joint venture between Palomar Health and Kindred Hospital.
There's definitely a need, especially in the North County, for this type of care. And it's a separate entity from a normal acute care. So we have specialized equipment, we have special trained nursing staff.
Some of that special equipment includes motion sensing technology, which can be used in games that help people regain balance and function. There's also a small car inside the gym that patients can practice getting in and out of.
Our hospital's pretty much built for that rehabilitation patient. It doesn't have OB, it doesn't have ER. We're not competing for resources. Everything is built around rehabilitation.
The 52-bed facility was licensed by the state in May and is only accepting Medicare patients, but that will change as operations are gradually scaled up over the next year.
We would like to see, and what we've seen just with our small population, is 84 to 90% of our patients go home. They don't need to go to a skilled level for further care.
The facility generally treats patients who suffered strokes, amputations, and spinal cord damage.
But I want you to not hold on if you don't have to.
Okay.
This is actually his first time walking without holding on to anything.
Bailey's progress is remarkable. He's hoping to be at or near 100% function soon. Right now, he still has to wear a brace around his body and neck.
I'm hoping that as my strength returns and my balance returns, that I won't have to wear as many braces anyway. maybe not even a neck brace when I get out of here. I don't know.
He says if you're coachable and with encouragement from staff, recovery is possible. But he's not sure what life will be like once he goes home.
I think my bicycling days might be over just because I'm my wife's primary caregiver. And I don't want to jeopardize that any more than I have to.
I want you to do it really safely, slowly.
Without touching anything.
Try not to. If you have to, it's here.
The Fallbrook resident is set to go home at the end of this month.
Yes. Yes. Nice work. Turn around for me.
Matt Hoffman, KPBS News.
The University of San Diego has the safest campus in California. According to a new report by the Safest College Campuses in America, UC San Diego also ranked 7th in the nation. The report says the nonprofit institution brings sunshine and safety with crime stats low in both violent and hate crimes as well as property crime. It says the campus takes extra measures to ensure student safety by offering a public safety escort for students to utilize from dawn until dusk.
We're back to business as usual here across Southern California. Warm and dry days ahead, although we'll be watching the later part of the work week for some monsoon moisture to strengthen again. Although it doesn't look like it's going to make it quite as far west as what we just had yesterday. So something to continue to monitor here over the next couple of days. Tonight in the metro, temperatures get down into the upper 60s. The fog will certainly be building in late tonight. Temperatures elsewhere getting down to 65 in Oceanside, 63 over in Escondido. And again, you can notice that marine layer will thicken up here very late tonight into the early morning hours of your Wednesday. Again, business as usual for some of our coastal cities here. And the sunshine will return as we move into the afternoon hours. We're talking about highs in the mid-80s in Escondido, 90 degrees in Ramona. Borrego Springs starting to warm up back up to 107 degrees for your high here on your Wednesday afternoon. And then Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, again, we'll start to see that monsoon moisture begin to strengthen again as we have this upper level high over central portions of the country. That's going to bring numerous showers and storms to much of the Four Corners region, but some of that's going to try to get into the deserts there of Southern California as well. So something we're going to monitor here over the days to come. Near the coast, temperatures are going to be in the mid to upper 80s or upper 70s, excuse me, I should say, closing in on that 80-degree mark by the time we get to your Saturday. Mix of sunshine and clouds and no rain here in the forecast. Further inland, temperatures are a little bit warmer. This is where we get up into the mid to upper 80s for those daytime highs. Again, no rain in the forecast, and even the mountains look to remain dry at least through the end of the work week and heading into the weekend, with temperatures falling off just a little bit, mid to upper 70s on the board for your Wednesday and Thursday. Could cool off a little bit with some more in the way of cloud cover possible towards your weekend, with some of that monsoon moisture beginning to kick up again. In the deserts, we're talking about triple-digit temperatures here all through the next 5 days, so the heat is certainly on. For KPBS News, I'm meteorologist Jessica Pash.
I'm Judy Woodruff. Tonight on the NewsHour, masking up. Dr. Anthony Fauci on the latest guidelines for face coverings. Coming up at 7 after Evening Edition on KPBS.
A group of more than 300 bars in San Francisco will now require proof of vaccination or a negative COVID-19 test to go inside. The policy goes into effect on Thursday, although some bars are already enforcing it. Matt Boone spoke with some customers about how they are responding to the requirement.
I'm 21, I promise.
It's not just your ID you'll need to get into the Oasis Cabaret and nightclub in San Francisco. Proof of vaccination is required too.
It makes the whole night, you know, what it's supposed to be.
Darcy Drawlinger is the owner. He says when they reopened in June, they were one of the first small venues in the city to require vaccination, but got rid of the policy when things were looking good in early July.
But then as soon as the Delta variant was becoming obviously more prevalent, we felt like for the safety of our patrons and our staff and our performers, it was the right thing to do.
Drag performer Katya Smirnoff-Sky says the comeback of their entire industry will rely on people feeling comfortable.
I think there's a lot of trepidation around coming back to live venues.
In addition to making patrons calmer, it could have another side effect.
If you really want to come see this show, it gives you a little incentive to go and do the right thing for the community at large.
That's perfectly fine. At Vesuvio Cafe in North Beach, the policy has been in effect for a week, catching some people off guard.
I have it, but I don't have it with me.
LJ Jones says she recently got vaccinated but had to sit outside because she didn't have the proof with her.
I won't come back here.
For Haley Cruz, she came specifically because of the policy.
Makes me feel safer as a customer.
That was Matt Boone reporting. The SF Bar Owner Alliance says the decision was made to protect their workers, customers, and their families, but they hope it might also influence some who have not gotten vaccinated yet to do so. And a reminder, everyone age 12 and older may be eligible for a vaccine. For more information about vaccinations and where you can get one, you can visit our website, kpbs.org, and click on the vaccines link that you can find right there on our homepage. If you've been thinking of adopting a new furry friend, now might be a great time to do so. The San Diego Humane Society is waiving adoption fees for all of its adult animals starting today through Saturday. The San Diego Humane Society currently has more than 1,500 animals, and 466 of them are waiting for new homes. The fee waiver will help create more space for other animals in need of urgent care. You can find tonight's stories on our website, kpbs.org. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm Maya Trabulsi. Have a great evening.
Major funding for KPBS Evening Edition has been made possible in part by Anderson Plumbing, Heating and Air, proud to support the mission of KPBS and privileged to serve San Diego clients. Anderson Plumbing, Heating and Air, helping homeowners maintain drain, heating, and cooling systems since 1978. And by the Conrad Prebys Foundation, Darlene Marcos Shiley, and by the following. And by viewers like you. Thank you.